Hello guys, in the previous tutorial I've made a city with grid structure which is like American cities, but this time I'm going to make a city with more of a random roads which is more of a European city. So I'm going to start with a plane and scale it up, and we don't need any subdivisions at first, so remove subdivisions and go to the edge selection mode and select all the edges. I'm going to extrude it and scale it up so we have a rectangle in the center. So once you extrude it out and scaled it properly, I'm going to select them all and go to Add Mesh, Add Divisions, and click on Options, and you can go with exponentially. So click on Add Divisions and you can increase divisions. Actually, you can add like a lot. I think 5 is appropriate. So once you got this kind of shape, you can go at Mesh, Triangulate. So now all the polygons are triangulated, and now it's time to reduce this mesh. So I'm gonna go to Mesh again and Reduce and click on this square to access Reduce options, and make sure you selected percentage method and go ahead and reduce. And I think something like 70% works pretty well. Okay, and once you've done that, go to the object mode and select the object and delete the history by clicking this icon. And go back to the face selection mode, and I'm going to select some of the polygons in the center like that. I'm going to invert selection. I'm going to go ahead to reduce again. This time I'm going to reduce a lot more than before, like 90%. So the polygons are more condensed in the center, like city center. Yeah, and then we're pretty much ready. I think it'll work. So once you're done, again, I'm gonna exit the face selection mode and select the object, clear the history, and go back to the edge selection mode, and I'm gonna select all the edges again. Actually, face selection mode would be better. So I'm gonna select all the faces again and extrude it. And you can turn off the keep faces together option by clicking on that, and I'm gonna add offset, something like that. Okay. Once you've done that, you can invert selection and assign a new material, and you can call it like roads, and then set the color like a black, and the invert selection again, assign new material, and call it like blocks. So I'm gonna be adding more details for the blocks. So I'm gonna keep extruding it, add thickness. So that's too thick. That's gonna work. And for the buildings, I'm gonna be adding more divisions. This time maybe 2. Actually, the final scene is gonna be an aerial view, so it doesn't have to be super detailed. But if you want to add more details, you can put buildings manually. But I'm gonna use this quick method. So once you added divisions, you can keep extruding it with keep faces together off and add offset, something like that, maybe a little more. And extrude it again. This time I'm gonna use transform and add some randomness like 0.4, 0.5 or something. And once you apply transform, you're going to see this cursor. You can just drag it up. So now there are buildings. Actually, it doesn't have to be that high. Alright. And you can select few buildings like that and make it even higher. Again, I'm going to select transform and raise it. So basically that's the modeling. So now I'm going to apply a texture for the road so we can make a more interesting look for the final render. So what I'm going to do is clear the history before we go. Then I'm going to go to roads and go down and find emission and open the tab, and you can add weight. I'm going to assign a specific texture for the emission color. I'm going to use 2D texture noise. And before we adjust this noise texture, I'm going to UV unwrap this. So in this case, planar projection would be the best. So I'm going to go add to UV planar, and you can project from y-axis and project. And go back to object mode. You can go add to emission, and you can actually select a row so you don't have to see the wireframe of the object. So what I'm going to do is basically increase the frequency first, and actually to see the texture we have to click on this icon. So now we see the texture on the object. So I'm going to increase the frequency and lower the density actually. And we can add a little bit of depth, something like that. And that indicates like car lights and street lamps and things like that. You can add as much as you want, but I'm gonna go with 4. And actually more frequency would be better. Yeah. And now you can add like spottiness and size randomness and just general randomness. Yeah. And I'm gonna go back to the material node and increase the emission emission weight so we can see it more clearly. So now the basic texturing is done, but I want to apply some colors for that lights on the road. So to do that, I'm gonna go add to hypershade, and you can load that graph network. And what I'm gonna add is layer texture node and ramp, and you should select ramp texture. After that, you can load those two textures we created previously to this layer texture node by dragging with middle mouse click. So we can just load that to texture and make sure the ramp texture comes first. And you should change the blend mode to multiply. And now I'm gonna connect this one instead of that original noise texture. Okay. Now I'm gonna go add to ramp texture and change the type to circular lamp. And now we can add whatever color we want. I think I'm gonna go with a little warm yellowish light, or maybe orange. And just plain white and red, maybe something like blue, light blue, something like that. Now you're gonna see it is projected. So now it's time to add some noise so it distributes more randomly. So you can add noise and increase frequency. You can take a more closer look. And find the best number for this. I think something like 8 works nicely. Okay. Alright. I think this is gonna work. Alright, for the blocks, actually we're not gonna see that much details from the sky, so you can just make it dark enough. Alright. Now it's basically ready to render. If you take a look at the render view, it looks something like this. If you want, you can add directional light to see the buildings a little bit, but maybe you should keep the intensity pretty low so it looks like a nice scene. Right, I'm gonna select the directional light and start to adjust the intensity value. Alright, you might don't want to see that kind of reflection, so in order to get rid of that kind of reflection, you can lower the specular rate so that doesn't appear that much. Alright, finally you can get your view for the final render. Actually, before I finish, if you don't like this kind of perfectly flat surface, you can actually add more curvature like real world. So I'm going to show you how to do it. You can select the object and go add to deform and add sculpt. And once you've done that, you can change the mode to project. And now you can select the sculptor and scale it up like that and lower this down so it's kind of curved slightly like real world. So that's one tip. And now I'm gonna go back to the camera view and get the angle you want, something like that. And you can add your own taste like depth of field. To add the depth of field, as some depth of field, you can actually go to Arnold because the legacy depth of field won't work in Arnold. So go ahead to Arnold and enable the DOF, and you should know the focus distance. So to figure out the distance between that point, you can create a locator, something like that. And you can go add to display, as of display, and object details. Already enabled it, but if you haven't, just check on that and you're gonna see the details of your selected object, and that includes distance from camera, which is 27 in my case. So I can go back and select my camera and set the focus distance to 27 and increase the aperture size like 0.3. So actually keep it lower, something like that. Now basically we're ready to go. So you can go to your render setting and set your resolution here like full HD and set your samplings, and I'm actually gonna use some of AOV's. Useful ones are RGBA, which will give you the denoise with optics option. I'm going to check on that so we can denoise the final result, and go add to emission so we can extract it and add like glow effect in Photoshop. So go ahead and select emission, and also I want to denoise with optics. And to show you quickly, I'm gonna lower the samplings to get the final result more quickly. Actually, in this case, you don't need subsurface scattering and volume direct, so you can just remove that. Even transmission is not needed. So go ahead and render and wait for this to be done. Actually, it's gonna be quite noisy because I didn't add too much sampling to get the result faster. So here's the final result, and you can basically say multi-layer EXR, and you can get all of these AOVs at once in one file. But if you want just one of these layer, for example this denoise or emission layer, then you can just go ahead and select one of these layers and save image, and yeah, basically that's it. So that's it for this video, and in the next video I'm gonna be adding a blackout effect to this lights on the scene. So it's gonna turn off gradually from the center to the outside of the city. So if you want something like that, please subscribe and